Hey, I'm going to show y'all today how I process slippery elm bark for use, and I'm going to tell you about a few of the things, the way the old timers used it, and what it's good for. Alright guys, here's a piece of slippery elm. It's a limb that was hanging out over a roadway, and a buddy of mine cut it out, and I grabbed it and cut it into manageable pieces. Here's one already stripped. What we want is the inner bark, not that rough outer bark. So what I usually do is take me a knife and I just skin this little outer bark off. Just try to take off as thin a layer as you can. You don't want to lose none of your inner bark. And you just keep working at that until you get all this off. And while I'm doing it, I'll tell you a few of the things that this was used for. One of the things they used it for, it was actually used for survival during wartime and times of food shortages and things like that. It was said that George Washington and his troops had a rough winter at Valley Forge, and you can make a gruel, a cereal, like a hot cereal out of this stuff, because once you strip this off here, and I dry it out on a dehydrator, and once it's dry I put it in a food processor and grind it up pretty fine, and then once you add water to it, it becomes like a thick porridge. Well, that got them through one of those tough winters at Valley Forge. George Washington and his troops used this stuff to keep them alive, and there's stories of wagon trains, the old pioneers surviving, tough winters on this stuff. I'll go ahead and get this outer bark shaved off, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what you do next, and then I'll tell you some more about what I use it for and how to use it. Alrighty, we got her skinned off. Just get that main outer bark off. If you get a little bit, leave a little bit, it won't hurt nothing. But the next thing I do is gently take my knife and try to kindly go down. You'll kind of feel when you get close to the heartwood there. I'll just skin the bigger portions of this stuff and peel it right off, and I put it up here on a paper towel or whatever you got. And you'll find that it's a lot thicker than you think it is. The bigger the limb you got, the thicker the inner bark is. But I continue to peel this down. And once I get the biggest part, and you can go ahead, what I usually do is I'll just go right around this and wring it. And that kind of makes a line for it to stop, so you ain't getting none of that old bark that you ain't peeled off yet. I usually do it in sections. Alright, once you get the biggest part of it off, the thicker stuff, then I'll take the back of my knife, and I take the back of my knife and I shave it. You can see if you use the back of your knife, it won't take none of the wood off that's under there. It'll just get the bark. You can see how pretty and white that wood is, and you're getting nothing but inner bark here. And I keep doing that until I get this entire bit of bark off this whole limb. And that's how I process it. But we was talking about the uses. Besides survival and food, it was also used as a medicine, and it's got tons of uses. One thing that I personally use it for is stomach problems. I have IBS, and this is good. It's been used for all kinds of different stomach ailments like IBS and Crohn's disease, and any type of inflammation or irritation in your digestive tract. This is going to help, because this stuff, when you get it wet and you make a tea out of it, that's what I do. I drink the tea, and it's going to get really thick and slimy, and all that mucilage in this bark is going to coat everything and help it. It's going to soothe it. It was also used for sore throats and coughs. It was put on burns, on skin lesions and wounds and things. And I've used it on just about everything. It's good on burns. But its main thing is it's really, really mucilaginous and slimy. But the tea itself, actually, I like it. It's a real pleasant taste. It's real mild and kind of nutty, I think, like a nutty flavor. But it's really good for your digestive tract if you got a real sore throat or you got a burn. I mean, the Indians used to use this stuff all the time. They used it for food. They used it for medicine. And this is the way I harvest it. And I ain't recommending this for nobody, of course. I ain't no doctor, but I've used it without problem. Of course, you can be allergic to anything. So if you do try to use this stuff, make sure you identify it properly. There is also the American elm, which is around here. There's a lot less of them, but the best way to tell, once you know you got an elm tree, well, one thing, you grab the leaf and rub it, and the top should be rough as sandpaper. If that is, you know it's slippery elm. It wasn't named for its smooth leaves. It was named for this slimy stuff in this bark. And the American elm has smooth leaves, and they're a little smaller than the slippery elm. But look this plant up and check it out, and do your research, folks. Don't go by my word. You know, everybody makes mistakes. But I just wanted to make this video and show you how I process this stuff and tell you what I used it for and how I used it. Now, you make a tea out of this stuff once you dry it. I powder it, and I put me about 2 tablespoons in 8 ounces of hot water. I pour boiling water over this powdered bark, or you can get you a tea ball, they call it, or you can even buy empty tea bags and put it in that and make you tea. Or you can put it right in your pot. But the main thing is, once you boil your water, take it off the heat once it comes to a boil. Then put it over it and let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes and steep. And then you can strain it out or whatever you got to do. But that's how I do it, and I hope y'all learned a little something, and I thank you for watching.